Well, we're going to take the time again to celebrate progress we are making as a city. 7 or 8 years ago, housing in Detroit, low-income housing in Detroit, was being pushed out, replaced with so-called market rate housing that longtime Detroiters couldn't afford, and people were pushed out of their homes, sometime with 60 days notice. In some cases, Detroit City Council gave tax breaks to developers to push out people of low income and replace them with those of higher income. We have made a commitment from day one that nobody is going to be pushed out of Detroit in order to bring new people into the city. There's plenty of room in the city for everybody of all ages, but affordable housing doesn't build itself. Each individual project is very complicated. It takes a whole series of partners, and I'm really pleased today that Mike Polzinelli from HUD, who has been our great partner the whole time I have been here, and Chad Benson from MSHDA is here, and Gary Heidel at MSHDA has just done such a great job. But there is a process in this state where every 6 months there is a statewide competition for something called LIHTC Awards. And people from all over the state say, my projects are the best, and you need that support with state and federal money to make these projects work, because it costs more to build than you can rent out if you rent it at a low to people of low income. So you need that subsidy. The first year I was here, we didn't win any. Grand Rapids and outstate areas were winning all of the LIHTC Awards. This city had not made a commitment to affordable housing. With Arthur Jemerson and Donald Rencher, we changed all that. We said when existing affordable housing is starting to expire, we are going to step in immediately and extend it so nobody gets pushed out, and we will build new, and we will build new in all areas of this city. And so every 6 months, we are waiting with bated breath to see what happens, and we were extremely pleased when MSHDA announced that the city of Detroit won not 1 or 2, but we won 5 projects for affordable housing, 282 units of housing, 125 that are affordable now that are going to be preserved for another 30 years, so the people that don't have to worry about being pushed off for another 30 years, and 157 new housing units constructed, $123 million in new development. And I'm going to show you what they are, and you're going to get a chance to hear from some of the folks that made this possible. But we've already preserved more than 4,000 units in this city. We built 2,000. But this is what we're going to keep doing. We have room for everybody if we stay ahead of this. And I also want to thank Governor Whitmer, who the last time we announced these, she was here herself. She's got a little bit of demands on her time this week, but she has been enormously supportive. Interestingly, the 5 projects are in 5 different neighborhoods: Midtown, Corktown, the North End, Forest Park, and the New Center. We aren't concentrating them in one area. We think there should be affordable housing in neighborhoods across the city, and they should be in the higher end neighborhoods as well as the more outlying areas. So this is Midtown Square. It's got folks living in subsidized housing today, 73 units. With today's agreement with John Stanley and Developer Detroit, those folks are set for another 30 years. Their apartments will be renovated, and they will have guaranteed low rental rates for another 30 years. Friendship Meadows, which was actually only built about 20 years ago, and needs renovations. We believe that individuals of low income should be able to be in quality rental property just like everybody else. And so we're putting the money in. There'll be a $6.6 million renovation, 52 units, and these folks also are now protected in their homes for another 30 years. This is what happens when we all work together. And then we need to keep building. And so the ACD project at Brush Watson is huge. Overall, it's 300 units. But with today's award, 49 more affordable units being built in Brush Park. And you're going to get a chance to hear from the head of the Brush Park Civic Association, who's been a leader from the beginning in the way that we've incorporated the old with the new in that historic neighborhood. This is called left field because those of us who've been around long enough remember at Tiger Stadium when this was left field. This is built in the Corktown area with the 5,000 high-end jobs coming, with Ford and the others bringing in all of the people who will be designing the automated vehicles and electric vehicles for the auto industry, for Ford Motor Company. There is significant pressure on rents in Corktown. We wanted to make sure that those who had been in Corktown could stay in Corktown. And so we made a number of commitments for affordable housing, both to be preserved and to be built. But here we have 48 more affordable units built in left field, beautiful facilities overlooking the Police Athletic League, soccer, football, and baseball field that exists at the site of the old Tiger Stadium. The Jim Holly residences, and I don't know who's contributed more. I think he's been in this town for a half a century, but just making lives better for people in the North End that entire time. You're going to get a chance to hear from him, but we're going to build 65 units, 100% affordable, and I think it is an appropriate tribute to the man who's changed the face of the city to make sure people of all incomes can be able to stay in that neighborhood as rapidly as it is developing. And so you can see what these numbers are like. I want to say thank you to our staff here at the City of Detroit. Donald Retcher and his team have been great, but you've seen us do these projects one after another with no drama. We just keep building more and more units, and if we have some success with Proposal N, we're going to save 8,000 housing units. You can see how all these strategies fit together to make sure longtime Detroiters will always have a place in this city. And with that, I want to turn it over to the person who's been our partner from my very first day in office, making sure we have gotten significant contributions from HUD in building affordable housing in this city. We haven't seen what you've seen in other cities, with the homeless on the streets in huge numbers in tent cities and the like, because we've been so aggressive and because we've had a great partner in Mike Pozzanelli. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank not only the mayor and his team, but also Jerry Kruger from American Community Developers and their team for hosting us today, and even more so to thank you for your vision on expanding quality, affordable, mixed-income housing in the city of Detroit. It's something that, as the mayor had noted, had been lacking in the past, and we're really making inroads where I think Detroit can be a model for the rest of the country on how to do this. So gone are the days when HUD would slap up a building and give it a Section 8 contract and make all of the residents in that development, in essence, dependent on Section 8 without any other amenities or any other types of income allowed into that development. And so you'd see these developments throughout the city. I mean, you could almost drive around and see them. If it was an ugly, mid-rise, squat brick building, that was 100% Section 8 development where these folks were located. And HUD learned the hard way that that's not the right way to do it. What we look for now when we provide any type of subsidy or funds is quality, mixed income, affordable housing that you can drive by and you wouldn't even be able to tell if it had some Section 8 vouchers or units in that development. You should not be able to differentiate between what is or was once HUD housing and what is market rate housing. So our role in this is small at this point, but I think it's very important. What we're working with ACD to do is to actually take these former developments where we had concentrated, I'm going to say it, poverty, Section 8 residents all living together, oftentimes in neighborhoods that didn't offer them many benefits, and we're allowing them to take some of those units out of there and spread them among some of the newer developments. So we're no longer going to have these islands of Section 8 housing with no amenities, no neighborhood benefits, but they're going to be able to take some of those units. In fact, they're doing it in this case at Brush Watson. They're going to take some from one of their developments, and they're going to move some of those units to Brush Watson. So you're going to have mixed income, and that's what we're looking for. I just want to say that, we're stewards of public funds, and it's very important for us to find partners who not only can deliver, but can deliver without waste or issues or fraud. ACD has been a great partner in that regard. They always deliver for us and for HUD, so for that I give you my thanks, Jerry. And it's been incredible to work with the city of Detroit under Mayor Duggan's administration, because his folks at HRD, Housing Revitalization Department.
Perfect.
And working with Arthur Jemison as well, have really gone over and beyond to make sure they comply with all of HUD's numerous rules, regulations, red tape, to put forth some very good products. So again, I just want to thank you. I want to thank the mayor, and we look forward to our ongoing partnerships and to doing even more of this type of housing that is so important to the city, because the true winner in all of this is not HUD, it's not ACD, it's not Mayor Duggan, it's the residents of the city of Detroit as a whole, and that's the way we look at it, so thank you. Oh, and I'm turning it over to Chad Benson from MSHDA. Sorry, Chad.
All right.
Chad is the Acting Director of Development and also a very important partner with HUD.
All right, thank you, Mike. Like Mike said, I'm the Acting Director of Development for the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. And I guess I want to start by just saying how excited we are to be a part of these developments, these 5 developments that are going to be happening in the city of Detroit. They really represent, furthering the goals of affordable housing throughout the city. And like the mayor said, these 5 developments represent over 150 new units in the city, and over 125 units that are existing affordable housing now, but will be renovated and will continue to serve those low-income residents for years to come. And those are important goals for us at MSHDA. These 5 developments, though, they also represent a lot of characteristics that we look for when we look at good affordable housing development, such as being mixed income housing, like Mike mentioned, sort of putting together affordable housing and market rate housing in very strategic areas of the city, and also close to the types of amenities that frankly all residents need, but affordable housing residents definitely need, like grocery stores and pharmacies, doctor's offices, so on, and proximity to transportation. So we really think these developments are great representations of that. I want to congratulate all the development teams that have been working on these so far. It takes a lot to get to this point, and we know that there's a lot of work left, but we have a lot of confidence in these development teams that are working on these developments. And I also do want to thank Donald Renscher and Kelly Vickers and the staff at the City of Detroit for their partnership. I think these developments are a great testament to all the hard work that they've done to identify developments that are competitive and score well within that very competitive process that the mayor talked about, which is the low-income housing tax credit program. So I want to thank them for that partnership. And with that, I think I'll pass it over to Donald Renscher.
All right. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate that. As the mayor said, I want to reiterate that we're a city that not only is trying to attract, but we are trying to ensure that we're retaining. We want to make sure that this is an equitable city, and when we develop our city, and make sure that the residents know that we have their back. And this is something that we've been pushing and we can continue to push, and when we're trying to provide affordable housing for our great city. But I also want to make sure that this is a message to developers that the city of Detroit is a place where they can identify where you can thrive. And this is a place where you can come here and develop. We are going to push for affordability always. And so I thank all the developers here. I also want to take time to thank my team. I see Beth Kometz here, Maria Mestige, who helped on the Brush and Watson project, and of course Kelly Vickers. It takes a lot of coordination to prepare a development to win and make sure they're competitive ready for a development project. And along with the HUD and MSHDA, we coordinated every single step and with the developers to get prepared so we can get, so we're ensuring that this funding and this great investment is coming to our city. So I appreciate the team there. It also recognizes that we're developing around the city of Detroit. And there's also diversity in the developer pool as well. And we talked about Reverend Holly, which I'll take it to him momentarily. But we are also seeing minority developers getting a shot to build in the city as well. So all of it together We're just extremely proud of this particular moment. We'll continue to push for development in the city of Detroit and investment here in the city. I would like to pass it over to Mike Essien, representative of ACD, American Community Developers, to give a couple of notes about his particular project. I see Jerry Kruger in the audience today, who's been a great partner throughout this process. Really excited for the Brush and Watson project. And Mike, if you want to give some details about that.
Thank you, Donald, and thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. And on behalf of Jerry Kruger and the entire ACD team, I want to say thank you to everyone who's had a hand in this development. It was July of 2018, we stood on the site and we announced our vision for a mixed income project known as Brush Watson. And at the time, the vision was 180 units, and half of them were going to be set aside as affordable housing. And that was a commitment that we made to the mayor, and we wanted to see this project through. And then over the course of the last 2 years, we were hoping, Mr. Mayor, to have you on site today and do a groundbreaking, but the weather wouldn't cooperate. But that vision for the project has turned into 300 units of housing, and half because of the commitment of the city and MSHDA and HUD as well. Half of those units are still committed as affordable housing. So we're very proud of that project. We're excited to kick it off today. We've been doing some site work. Donald's laughing a little bit because he knows we've been busy on site for a little bit now, but thank you to all of our partners here and to the folks at the city as well. I'd like to say thanks to Maria and to Beth and to Sam. I'm not sure if Sam's here, and Kelly, but thank you. We could not have done it without your support, and much of that credit also goes to the mayor and to Donald for putting together such a strong team. And one of the other things with a project that's of this size and scale is working with community engagement and people within our own neighborhood. I live in Brush Park. I've been there for 6 years now, and so I've worked very closely with my neighbors within Brush Park, including Mona Ross Gardner, who's here today. She's with the Brush Park CDC, and also with Sue Mosey at Midtown Inc. And I'd like to invite Mona to say a few words, if you would. Just really appreciate your support for this project all along.
Well, first of all, we want to thank you, Mike and Jerry, for bringing your project to Brush Park. We met with them probably about 4 years ago when they introduced the project. And since then, they have been very informative, very cooperative. They've supported all of our meetings. They have shown us all their projects step by step, including the mayor's office, Donald's office. They've all been very, very supportive. The community is 100% behind them, and what we really appreciate is the diversity that they're allowing to come back into the neighborhood with the affordable housing. So we want to thank you so much for bringing the project into Brush Park, and we welcome you as our new neighbors. Thank you.
I want to say something about Mona Ross Gardner, because this is the way development should happen. When we started out, Ms. Ross Gardner was in a Brush Park area that had some restored historic houses, a couple of apartment buildings, and a whole lot of vacant land sitting there between Ford Field and the Detroit Medical Center, just off of Woodward. It was clearly poised for development, and she has been a partner. Every single project, every step of the way, she said, I want more neighbors. They need to be sensitive to the historic buildings we have here, and it's got to be built for people of all incomes. And so project after project after project, she's been at the table in design. Brush Park's got hundreds more units than it had before, but it's been done in partners with the neighbors who were there. And I just want to say thank you
And thank
for
you.
everything that you did. And we have a similar story with Reverend Jim Howley. He came to me 5 or 6 years ago because he had a 6-story long abandoned apartment building about a block north of his church that was a hazard to his congregation members as they came to church on Sunday. And he said, can't you do something about it? And when we looked into it, we said the best thing we could do is make it into permanent supportive housing. Take people who were formerly homeless and move them in and give them the kinds of support they need to succeed in the long run. So I went to Reverend Howley. I didn't know how he was going to feel about having a large building in the shadow of his church with formerly homeless. But when I showed him the plan, he said, not only do I support it, I'll minister to the residents who come in, because our church ministers to everyone, and he made that center a part of his congregation. And then I think he looked at that and said, well, if they can do it, I can too. And so Reverend Howley decided to build his own affordable units to continue to expand the mission. And I'm really pleased that he succeeded in that round. You've changed the face of that neighborhood and made it so much stronger. So Reverend Howley, congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, and certainly thank you so much for all that your support. I want to just introduce my family of 4 generations. Would you stand for me, the Holly family, if you would, please? I just want you to know they're here, 4 generations. And then my partners in this this beautiful residence is MHT Housing. Van Box cannot be here, but Peter is here. Can you stand up, Peter? And this is a really a partnership, and I'm just grateful for this. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. As you know, I announced my retirement. I'll be 50 years as pastor of the historic Little Rock Baptist Church at the beginning of 2022, and I can leave knowing that the work that we built over the years will live on. And the Reverend Dr. Jim Hawley residence is a manifestation of our commitment to the North End in the city of Detroit. North End has become a livable place because Little Rock led the vision and made it possible for others to believe that, again, that the city can be a place to grow up and to grow old. Our partners, as I indicated, to MHT Housing and Van Vox, have made this unbelievable multiple racial partnership. It can work, as it has done with others in the city. And so I want to thank my family. I want to thank the members of the historic Little Rock Baptist Church. I certainly want to give a much appreciative thanks to the mayor of this city and all that he's done to make not only around the city of Detroit, but North End come alive. And I just want to thank you for sharing my dreams and making North End a better place to live, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
It gives you a sense of the magnitude of the partnerships that made this possible, and together we're going to watch this first-class housing be built and renovated for our lowest-income residents. That's the kind of city we're going to be. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Okay. All right, Mayor, we do have a couple of questions from reporters that are watching remotely today. One is to kind of give it a little bit more of an overview of the affordable housing strategy, because the other day, or a couple weeks ago, you announced the $48 million fund, and today you're announcing low-income housing tax credits. Can you talk about how those two things work together?
Yeah, they do. And we 2 weeks ago cut the ribbon on the place at Gratiot and Mack for the permanent
Center.
supportive housing, and opened up another 80 or 100 units there. We've got the Affordable Housing Leverage Fund with $48 million, and it is being used to create another source of funding to supplement the federal money and the state money. So when you can go to HUD and you can go to MSHDA and say, we've raised our own money through the private sector, through JP Morgan Chase and a number of the other banks and Kresge and those partners, it just makes these kinds of you haven't seen these kinds of buildings being built in the city in a long, long time until recent years. It makes these possible. And so it's been a whole community that is building these affordable housing units.
Also, can you speak a little bit to the fact that major projects like this new construction is happening in the city seemingly more and more, even though we're in the COVID reality right now, and what that means about the city's desirability?
There has never been more construction going on in the city in a half a century than there is this week. I mean, it's amazing. So I think you've seen in Europe, in China, where they have come back from COVID very quickly. Once it got under control economically, people are betting on the future of Detroit. That's not true of every city right now in the post-COVID era, but it is amazing to see the investment in housing, the investment in office, the investment in manufacturing plants. But you drive anywhere in the city, you see cranes and construction workers, and now we got 5 more projects coming.
Great. Question for Ms. Ross. Just want to know if you could talk a little bit more about the change that you've seen in Brush Park at this point, and how that's changed life for you and the residents there.
I've actually been a resident of Brush Park for probably 30 years. And as the mayor said, there were several abandoned mansions. When I first started my very first project in Brush Park myself, at 234 Winder, which I turned into a bed and breakfast. Vacant houses, lots of vacant land, lots of homeless people. The neighborhood was in pretty bad shape, totally desolated. And to see now what I saw then, it's like a whole new world. It's totally different. And the progress was so fast. It happened under a different leadership, but there was a leadership put in place prior to that initiated it. Under this leadership, it has just skyrocketed very, very fast. This is a great group of people here that have been working on these projects. Donald's office, the mayor's office, Mike, I've known Mike for years. There's other projects that have come down there, including the Scott Building, and they have been moving like lightning. So the neighborhood has been very excited about it, and like I said before, we are so proud that they are including this affordable component to allow people who have been there and have stayed there to continue to live there. So it's great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think this question might be for Donald, as sort of a technical question from Louis Aguilar from Bridge Detroit. So I'm going to read it just as he wrote it. He said, from what I can tell, some of the affordable housing ranges from Section 8 to ones based on area median income. So I think he's asking if some of these are Section 8 units. And also, can you give an example of what the range of affordability would be? What area median income, what would an average rent be in some of these units?
Right, so excellent question. So they're ranging from 30% AMI to 80% AMI. That is a code word for between $16,000 of somebody making an affordable unit for someone who's making $16,000 to about $45,000. And so what you heard before when Mr. Polsinelli was here, was that there are affordable housing contracts for those lower income individuals around 30% AMI that are being made available at the Brush and Watson site. And so those are deeper affordability for people of lower income to be able to have an opportunity to live in a unit. And so that pretty much equates to about $400 to $500 a month in rent.
All right, thank you. I think, Reverend Holly, for your project, question was, the building that's on the site now, is that going to be adapted or is it going to be demolished in new construction?
It's going to be demolished for new construction. And so that's the answer to the question.
Okay.
But then just give me 1 minute. I
Sure.
can't, I'm a preacher, so you got to let me use my, I want you to understand that I would expect at the end of 2021, we're talking about 500 people will be working in this area based upon all the stuff that's going on in the North End with the mayor's doing and the leadership of this community. And almost we got a restaurant that's coming up. We have a new daycare, but more than anything else, we got new housing that's taking place. I just can't tell you, give you. That's not my responsibility or my role to tell you, but it's coming. So I just want you to understand so much is happening, and I just want to make sure that Detroiters stay in Detroit, and that and they understand how important it is. That everybody has a sense of knowing how important this city is. And many times Detroiters do not. And for some reason or another, we got to work on that, because I'm telling you, something good is happening in this city. And so I just want to get that in, and I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn, but I just had to get that in.
You're never out of turn.
Okay. All right, that was our last
All right,
question.
thank you all very much.